When it comes to TVs, everyone is looking for the same result. You want it to look cool and clean, but you don't want to see cables and you don't want to spend a fortune. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I mounted my own TV using an affordable bracket along with this bargain electric outlet that let me hide all the cables to give me a really cool result. When buying a TV, you want to be aware there are two ways to light it. Now by lighting, I mean the LEDs that actually light up the image. You really want to get direct lit for the best quality image and the brightest image, which will be ideal down here in the basement. And it doesn't have to cost a lot. The Samsung 50-inch version is just $350 and it is a direct lit model. Now you could certainly put a cord on the wall, but I wanted to avoid that. So the trick around this installation is place your television, if you can, near that electric outlet. Now that sounds easy, but there is a stud bay that your outlet is in. If that stud bay is lined up with the bracket, any part of the bracket, doesn't have to be centered in the middle, you can then run the wire easily inside the wall without running wires between stud bays or across the room. These brackets are designed to screw directly to studs. They don't have to. They do include anchors that you can use if you want to, but the install will go much easier if you can simply screw them directly into a stud. And these holes are spaced for 16-inch studs, and they've got lots of room for adjustments. I can then go ahead and pre-drill the holes. Now, I'm not trying to just drill into the drywall. I need to get into the stud itself. You'll want to use a stud finder to locate their exact location, and this one is really cool, and I'll mark the middle, and that is exactly where I'm going to drill my first hole. Now, you can use this template. That may work for you, but I have found that the piece of paper will move, and it's just going to be more trouble than it's worth. I will start by drilling my first hole into the stud directly. Once done, I can screw that bolt in, but not quite all the way. Now I will simply lift up the opposite ends of the bracket, use a level or this included little magnetic one they give you, and I will level it out. I'm doing it this way because it guarantees a perfect result. You can use a template, you can use a board or any number of fancy methods, but if you use the bracket itself, you know you've drilled the hole correctly. Now I just need to continue drilling the final two holes in the bottom, and these 4 bolts will give me a super secure mounting. When you have a hidden installation with no cords, the result is worth it. So the first way to get there is to mount the TV near an electric outlet so that the bracket is within one of the stud bays of your nearby outlet. Next trick is the easiest of all. Get rid of your cable box. Don't use any other boxes. Try to get a smart TV that has the functions internally that you need. That means you'll only need an electric outlet. But when it comes to electric outlets, you don't just want to use a regular one. When you plug something in on the surface, it's not a big deal if it's your vacuum cleaner, but the TVs are so close to the wall nowadays, you need extra room behind them. So you're going to want to use this outlet. This sells for just $12. It's a recessed outlet. And while there are special AV outlets with all kinds of brackets and stuff that can sell for $50, $60, or even more, there's really no need for them. I'll start by marking out where I'm going to put my outlet box, and by staying in the same stud bay, I'll only have to run that wire just a couple of feet upward. But many people just stick the box in the wall, they trace the outline, and then they realize that they cut a hole that is way too big. You want to trace the inside of the box. And now using the simple keyhole saw, I'm just going to cut out the location. So now we've got a good fit. Do not tighten these yet, because we've still got to run our wire, and having the box in there is a no-no. Next, I'll turn off the electricity to this outlet, and you'll want to make certain that it's off. This little tester I have is going to be handy when I'm done, but it's got a cool feature. It's got a beeper, so I can turn the beeper on, and then I start switching my circuit breakers off until the beeper shuts off. First, I want to run the wire to the upper box in the hole I just cut out. Though the outlets aren't perfectly centered, I am still in the same stud bay. Press the electric wire through, feed it up there until it finally either comes out the top box or I could reach in and grab it. Next, you'll slide the wire through the bottom of your new box. Additionally, you'll want to slice that insulation on the outside of the wire to expose the inside conductors and the ground. I like to do this while the box is still out of the wall. It makes it quite a bit easier. You'll also want to ensure that you've got about an inch of insulation sticking past that clamp on the bottom of the box. Next, make sure you trim off any paper, then reinsert the box into the wall, and you can use a power screwdriver or manual to tighten those screws, extending the clamps. Those ears will tighten and the box will become rock solid. I'll want to leave about 6 inches of wire protruding from the box, then I can strip both the black and the white wire and I'll connect them to this new recessed outlet. Now there are holes in the back, you could use these quick connection points, but I am going to make what's called the shepherd's hook. Once you've made this small hook, you will simply insert it over each screw, the black wire goes to brass, the white, which is neutral, goes to the silver screw, and then of course finally the ground, you can make a hook and put it on the green screw. Now your television's outlet is fully wired up. Now as you're pushing this back into the box, you'll notice it's very unusual. There is no separate trim plate. The outlet and the trim plate are all one device. And then finally you can push that into the box and tighten everything down. Now I need to tie this brand new outlet into our existing circuit. That is done by connecting the wires to the existing outlet that I've got here. And it may be different than what your outlet looks like. I have a lot of wire here, in fact too much. Normally you want about 6 to 8 inches. This is more like 10 or 11, and this is really clogging the box. When you're tying into a new outlet like this, you could use a process called pigtailing. Pigtailing is where you remove all of the wires from the outlet, connect in just one set. Then from there, you connect any new wires into your new connection. Now, if it sounds a little bit confusing, it sort of is because it adds additional wires, and I barely have enough room for these ones. So I'm instead going to directly connect to this outlet. But that's not a problem because this outlet allows 8 individual connections, and I only need 6. So we will simply begin by stripping about a ½ inch of the wire, and I only need to have a straight connection. This outlet does take shepherd's hooks, but you can't use them if you're going to connect multiple wires. Simply insert the stripped wire into the brass and silver screws accordingly, and the ground as well. Now the ground does have to be pigtailed. Tighten up all 3 black wires, then I repeat the process for the white or the neutral wires going to the silver screws. Now I've got my electric connections for both my hots and my neutrals. I'll finish this up by connecting up my ground connection using this existing wire nut, but I'll want to take care as I'm folding these in the box. You don't just press this as hard as you can. You want to kind of gently work it in and fold the wires by hand first and then gently push that outlet in. If you're getting a ton of resistance, you're probably doing something wrong. Now with the outlet secured, I can replace the trim plate and I can restore the power. And this will simply verify that your wiring is correct and you do have electricity. And now of course for the best part, I can open up the TV and mount the opposite end of the bracket and get this thing on the wall. But unfortunately, as soon as I open the box, there is a problem. The TV is cracked. I ordered this through the mail on Best Buy, and I was really disappointed as it was Friday night. And they did let me print a return label, but it said on it if you don't go to the store, it can take up to a month to get a refund. That seems pretty lousy for a company that wants you to buy online. And now, after a trip to Target, I picked up the same TV at the same price, and I'm able to continue the installation. If you've never installed one of these TV brackets, they're generally the same. You need to install a piece of the bracket on the back of the television, and then you can hook it onto the wall bracket. But in my case, I noticed the screws were either too short or too long. Instead, I was able to use a couple of washers that I had around, putting them on the screw so that I could securely tighten them down on the bracket. Once they were both installed on the same holes on each side, I was able to simply lift the TV onto the bracket and slide it around so that I get it exactly where I wanted it. And this next step you don't want to skip. There are screws on the bottom of this bracket that need to be tightened, but you don't tighten them until after it's on the wall. These are locking screws. Many people think they're extras and just throw them away, and that is a huge mistake, especially if you've got kids. And now the benefit is the TV cannot be removed or bumped without unscrewing them first. The cord they give you with the Samsung is a little bit strange. It's already got a right angle to save some space, but this will still work in the recessed outlet, and the end result is perfect. The cord is barely protruding from the wall, and this will not interfere with this TV whatsoever. Next, I'll just route the power cord to the back of the television, tie everything up so that it's neat, and the end result really came out nice. You don't see any cords. Everything is tucked in, and like many basements, I have a staircase right in the middle, and I also use this space differently. I've got some exercise equipment, my kids play down here, and this bracket is pretty unique. You can simply adjust the TV and point it in whatever direction you like. There are of course many different ways you can mount and wire your TV. This way works for me, and even though this video was kind of long with a lot of detail, the entire job only took me about an hour and a half, and I think the end result was well worth it. And I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Silver Symbol channel for more videos coming up.